The first episode of Peacemaker Season 2 dropped earlier this week, and I'm sad to say I didn't love it. I'm actually surprised that this episode had one of the highest ratings on Rotten Tomatoes across all the James Gunn projects. It's not bad by any stretch, but this is the project where I'm starting to notice James Gunn's weakness when making his projects. He doesn't seem to be able to let go. This episode starts with a Season 1 recap where James retcons everything that connected Peacemaker Season 1 to the DCEU. I think this is a totally serviceable way to continue the show, but it feels really off. There are so many funny jokes and bits from Season 1 that tie it to the DCEU, and now it's more practical to just skip Season 1 and just watch the Season 2 recap. It's nothing major, but it's annoying, especially since this season is dealing with parallel universes. They could have just made this season to begin or end with Peacemaker and his crew traveling to the DCU. I get James Gunn was in a rough spot, but the most practical thing to do would have been to not keep Peacemaker if you don't want to acknowledge his ties to the DCEU. Marvel makes 40-minute specials all the time. He could have done a Peacemaker special. He didn't have to continue the story that he was making in the show. Not a ton of stuff happens in this episode until the very end, which I guess isn't uncommon for the first episode of any season. But there isn't a whole lot to talk about, and I'm stalling for time. This episode catches us up with Peacemaker as he discovers a parallel world. We then jump 6 months later, where Peacemaker seems to have lost touch with most of his friends. Adebayo and him still talk, but he hasn't spoken to Economos or Vigilante in a while. And he goes to speak with Harcourt, and we learn that they got drunk and hooked up, and then Harcourt ended any possible relationship for whatever reason, something I'm sure we'll learn about later in the season. After Peacemaker tries to pursue her again and gets rejected by the Justice Gang, he travels to a parallel world and hangs out with his dad who loves him and his brother who is alive. The episode ends with Rick Flag Sr. pulling all his resources to take down Peacemaker. And Peacemaker is discovered by himself from an alternate universe, and after a pretty nasty fight, ends up killing his alternate self. I totally see where this season could go, and I think it can be great. This show seems to be using the multiverse in a way that is purely for character work and zero fan service, which I think is very refreshing. While I give No Way Home and Deadpool 3 way more credit for the character-based stories they tell, I can't deny they use a lot of fan service that doesn't make it as rewatchable as it could have been. I'm looking forward for the rest of the season. There's massive potential. I just don't love the first episode as much as I was hoping for. I guess I also didn't love Peacemaker Season 1 as much on the first watch around, and I ended up loving the show on the second watch around. I still have high expectations for the show. Guys, if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and subscribe. I always appreciate it. I'll be covering each episode as it releases week by week, and then once the entire season is out, we'll get an entire season review. Thank you guys so much for watching, and take care.